Maybe you've heard a song and you've said, hmm, that sounds like another song that I know. Well, if you're of my generation, growing up in the 80s and 90s, we would call that sampling. And that was something that became very big, especially in hip hop culture, where a song, a recorded song, would be used in various forms, parts of the song, whether that was the drum beat, the bass line, whatever the case is, and it's another song completely built around it. But maybe you've noticed recently that there are more songs that basically literally quote other songs. Well, this is a new phenomenon that isn't really new. But since the rise of TikTok about 2017, we've seen more interpolations of pop music. And if that term is new to you, I'm going to explain it. So it is also called a replayed sample. And you're taking the melody or portions of the melody or portions of the song even, and you're re-recording it. So you're not using the recorded sample, but you're creating something. I guess that's a good thing out of what happens. Well, why is this happening? Well, you have to go back to when sampling first became popular and became predominant in music. One of the things that was very important was to give credit to the sampled musicians. And of course, with credit comes money, and royalties were paid. But what happens if you really want to use a part of a song and you don't get permission? Well, interpolation is a way that you can do it creatively without permission. Yes. It is often used when the artist or label who owns the recording declines to license the sample. Or another thing that's happened recently as well is you have groups that are purchasing all of these song catalogs. So they have all of this music that they can do whatever they want with it. Now, we're not talking about big hit songs that are being interpolated into other songs. For example, I'm Good is a song that you might hear on the radio. And if you grew up in the 90s like I did, you know the Eiffel 65 song I'm Blue, Dabu Dee, which in my opinion is a far superior song. That being said, they've basically taken the I'm Blue melody and the idea of I'm something and created something brand new over it. Is it creative? Maybe. I don't know. But like I said, this is not a new thing, because if you go back to good old Coolio back in the 90s, Gangsta's Paradise was including an interpolation of Stevie Wonder's song Pastime Paradise. So it's happened before. But we can go back even farther to the Beatles. All You Need Is Love. At the end of that song, you'll hear a whole bunch of different songs that get added in or interpolated, including their own song, She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. Interesting. But even in classical music, we can go back very far and find creative interpolations of music. For example, in Saint-Saëns' masterwork, Carnival of the Animals, in his section Tortoises, the turtles, you will hear quoted or interpolated Jacques Offenbach's piece, Can Can. Yes, turtles are doing the can can. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to point out with students. But it's taking that piece of music and quoting it, but it's not exactly an interpolation, is it? Maybe. But we've seen it be more and more prevalent. So here's a couple of examples. Anne Marie's song 2002 interpolates lyrics from 6 songs. Interesting. Ariana Grande's song Seven Rings interpolates My Favorite Things from, of course, Sound of Music. It's interesting how this works, but I think as we look at this, like I asked the question, is this creative? Yes, in a way. I mean, whether you're sampling or interpolating a piece of music, you are taking something that somebody else created. Yes, you are not really creating something new, but you are. You are taking that foundation and building something sometimes completely different. Or in the case of Vanilla Ice with his wonderful song Ice Ice Baby, he literally ripped off Queen's Under Pressure bass line with adding an extra note. Of course, as he famously said in an MTV interview. Not the same, but it is. Could that be an interpolation? I don't know. Because really, I mean, you would have to creatively add that in. I don't know. The lines on all of this are very fuzzy and gray. That said, I think that it's interesting to sit with this and really ask the question of, is this creative? You're taking somebody else's work. And especially in the case of an interpolation, you may not always be giving the previous composer and creator credits and financial remuneration. And we've seen plenty of lawsuits going around that are working on giving credit to those original composers. It's an interesting thing to look at. But if you're following the different interpolations that are out there, I'd love to have you comment with what you think of those interpolations. What do you think is the most creative use of an interpolation? What's your least favorite? I'd have to say for me, the I'm good one is just, I don't like it. But that's because I was a fan of the Eiffel 65 song, so I'm a little skewed. But drop some comments with what you think about interpolations.